and welcome back to another episode of the Ask Not Me Anything podcast. And in this episode, I'm speaking with Kirah Tabourn. She's an astrologer, an author, and a podcaster, and also a really good friend of mine. She was my first friend I think I ever met in New York. We went to school together. We were roommates for a couple years. We interned together, and we just had a really illuminating conversation that I'm really excited to share. So let's get to it. All right, so let's just get right into it. First question from Radoslav_Marta Vuz. How are you doing?
How am I doing? Ooh.
Keeping it simple.
At this very second, I'm great. In general, so-so.
Okay.
So-so.
Yeah, we were chatting before, and when's the last time you've been in contact with a person? You're kind of just at home in your apartment, right?
I've been at home in my apartment pretty much by myself for months now, since I got here to LA. So I guess like 7 months.
Wow.
A friend did come over last week, and that
cool.
was the first time I got to like pass a J to someone, and that was really nice.
There you go.
Yeah, I've honestly just been hanging out with people on Clubhouse for a while now. As like my social, because Germ, we used to live together. Like I'm pretty social. I love to have people over and like just hang out and chill. So
you are very social. When we lived together, we had a lot of people come through all the time.
And both of us are pretty social too.
We're both very social. We're both very outgoing people.
Yeah. It was always, we were like a hub. Our place was, and my place now, I have my own place, and like I live alone, and it's really like kind of perfect for hanging out in.
Yeah. It looks nice.
Been able to yet. So
one day soon. Next question from Amy___Nicole. What pushed you to make the move to being a full-time astrologist? Sparkly emoji.
Ooh, good question. Well, first of all, I have to say I'm not an astrologist. I'm an astrologer.
Oh.
And I say that because I just hate being called an astrologist. Honestly,
really?
That's the truth.
Why?
But what pushed me was I was working in advertising, and I was a producer. And while I did like being a producer, it was like the stress kind of started to get to me. Like it was just too much. And I had a particularly really intense, like difficult shoot in a couple of years ago. And I was just like, it's time. Like, I can't do this anymore.
Can we go in the details
on top
of that?
I have like chronic illness and like other things that kind of made having to commute and sit in a chair at an office for 8 hours a day and like look like I was working just really so much harder to do. So I kind of just figured out I had to like make the shift and start working for myself, because I was going to like be miserable if I didn't. Yeah. And I'm so proud of you for your prime example of someone who really made the steps and took the leap to go full time and doing something that you love and finding success with it. I don't know if I would have been able to do it if I didn't like have your model for 2 years, like, well, not even just 2 years, for like 8 years up until that point. Cause we were together from day one, basically in New York. And I was there with you as you were on your come up. So it was, it was really helpful to see you do it, honestly.
Appreciate you saying that. Yeah. I think it's important to just surround yourself with other people that are doing cool things, and that just makes you want to do your own cool thing.
Exactly.
Can you go into detail about, if you're comfortable with it, about what this shoot was that made you want to quit this job? And
should I name the company though? I don't know.
I'm getting a bunch of people shaking their heads around here. I'll leave it up to you if you want to name the company.
Shaking their heads, yes or no? I'm really gullible, so whatever people think I should do, I'll do.
People are shaking their heads. I don't know if it's up. I'll leave it up to you. I'm indifferent. You know what? Maybe let's keep it a mystery.
Maybe a retailer.
Okay.
Not necessarily a retailer. Popular website. Okay. That's been around for a very, very, very long time. And it was a fashion shoot. It was a fashion account, I'll say. And it was just, I was the main producer on it. I was an associate producer, and they just put a lot on me all at once without much support. They had like just fired like my boss at the time. So like I felt very alone in all of it. And I had to make a lot of really split second decisions like all the time, and kind of had like the executive director of the department I was in, just like breathing down my neck. He was very much a bully, which is a huge reason why I left too. And like I had to produce a 2-day shoot in San Francisco 2 days before we had to leave for the shoot. So I was like staying up, I was like at work until like midnight, sometimes 2-3 a.m., just like working constantly. And it was just really, really hard. The shoot went really well. It was nice to come to San Francisco, but it was rough. It was really rough. And that's really what pushed me. I was like, it just kind of settled in that like, these people don't give a shit about me, and I have to look out for myself and do what I want to do, because never want to be that stressed out for anyone, like a company again, basically.
Totally. Yeah. So it's a blessing and a curse. It happened in a sense, because without that terrible experience, you wouldn't be what you're doing right now. Right. You might still be in the might still be. I mean, I don't know. I always kind of had goals to work for myself. So I would have stayed. I would have probably stayed at least until I could have gotten my 401k match, but it was so bad I couldn't even wait like another like 7 months to do that. Yeah.
So
next question is from Sam Ashton. A lot of people think astrology isn't real. What would you tell these people?
Ooh. Okay. So first I would say, like, what is your definition of real? And then I would probably ask, like, do you even know what astrology is?
So what is astrology?
Real? What's that?
So how would you define astrology?
So I would define it. I've like been teaching it. I just did a whole lesson on the history of astrology. So I'm like, how do I sum all this
how do you sum all of this into like one simple sentence, or just like a couple of sentences?
So astrology is the study of celestial movement. So things that are happening in the sky, and then, the stars, and especially with the planets, and noting their correlation to what happens down here on Earth. So things happen in the sky, and it's not that it affects what's happening on Earth. Of course, like the moon does, right? The sun, the moon, like what they do, there are like physical effects of like what happens here on Earth, right? But in terms of all the planets, it's not like their movements are like causing things to happen here on Earth. It's more of like, as above, so below. So things are happening up there, things are happening down here. There's a mirroring happening. Astrologers study that mirroring, and we study how, in multiple levels, how it's affecting us, like in a worldly way, and then also like how it affects us individually and in our lives, and the patternings that, happen in our individual lives.
I like the way you explain that. So would you tell these people that their concerns of astrology not being real are valid, or would you want them to be more open-minded to understanding what it means? I just think
the question is weird. Like, is it real? Like, it's a real thing. Like, I do it for a living. It's not fake.
Right.
But I think what that person means is like, is there any like factual truth underlying it? And I would just say that when it comes to being skeptical about something, like I think it's completely natural to be skeptical about like very surface level astrology. If you're coming at astrology with like, oh, I'm a Virgo, and just because someone says this is how Virgos are, that's supposed to like mean that all Virgos are like this. That doesn't make any sense. Of course, that doesn't make any sense. There's like 1/12 of the world's population are Virgos, and they're not all just like the same.
I think that was one of my biggest misconceptions. That's one of my biggest misconceptions of astrology.
Yeah, right. So, but that when you're talking about the fact that you're just a Virgo, we're talking about that's where the sun was when you were born, was in the not the constellation, but the sign Virgo, and the section of the sky that pertains to Virgo. It takes 30 days to go through that part of the sky. So that's all we're talking about when we say your sun is in Virgo. What we're not talking about is like, Jerem, you're an Aries rising, right? Yeah, you're an Aries rising.
I love how you remember these things.
You have your moon in Sag, right? Like you have your chart ruler, Mars in Libra, all of these other things, your entire chart, the entire moment in time and space, that pertains to you and who you are. So it's not just that Virgo sun, it's that Virgo sun in the 6th house. Like, you know, I think you have Venus there too. And it's everything. It's the entire picture. And then, and then it's like how you live your life. It's not just the Virgo sun, basically. And that's another thing. It's like, if you don't really know that there's more underneath that. I didn't know. I've been into astrology my entire life. I didn't know about birth charts until I was 21. Oh, wow. So even then, like, if you don't know, you don't know. And I don't blame people for not knowing. There's like not a lot of people in the world who hold this knowledge, which was, you know, continuously throughout history, like kind of not buried, but lost multiple times throughout history. So this is like a modern revival, but there have been multiple revivals throughout the past couple of thousand years. And it's cool to be a part of this one. It's really cool. Okay. So you said you've been interested in astrology pretty much your whole life, and you didn't find out more about astrology until you're 21. So the next question is from love_Charlene. How long have you been practicing? So I saw my birth chart for the first time when I was 21 in 2012. And that was just the beginning, and it never stopped. Was that like a wow effect, or what was that moment like when you discovered that? And was it a profound moment where you immediately like, moment. Yeah, it was very much a profound moment. I remember it very clearly. Just this like swelling in my chest and like this like excitement and this buzzing feeling. I actually have the chart from that moment too, so I can like see it astrologically now that I know what all that shit means. But it was just this like amazing feeling. I felt like witnessed by the universe. It felt like, wow, this is mine. Like this is for me. Yeah. On like a universal scale. That kind of reminds me of the moment I first used a bidet. I felt the same way. What's similar but different. Say it again. Never mind. That's amazing though. Next question is from Paris Mumpower. Can you tell us about Jeremy's sign? Eye emojis. You mentioned it a second ago, so maybe go more into detail. So I'm a Virgo. I'm a Virgo sun. Jerem's SMR, and SMR is a term I use to stand for sun, moon, rising. Jerem's SMR is Virgo sun, Sagittarius moon, and Aries rising. And so right there, you can just look like Virgo sun, okay, earthy, Sag moon, fiery, Aries rising, fiery. So he's very, very earthy and grounded and practical and reliable. And he's also super, super fiery and innovative and exciting and like has a shit ton of energy. This man has so much energy. He's Mars ruled. Mars is the planet that rules his first house of self. So he's super fiery and martial and just like is always constantly doing things and on the go. But in particular about like him being a Virgo, he's Jeremy, I don't know if you remember this, but when I was working at that ad agency, you were there for like something and I wasn't at my desk and you wrote a little Post-it note, like basically like Virgo season 2018 coming soon, and then like heart germ, and you put it on my external hard drive, and it's still on there. That was like 3 years ago. I love that. Yeah. Well, that's a love cute. Language thing. My love language is I like writing notes for people. Little Post-it notes, which is so Virgo. Yeah. So yeah, Virgo.
I thought you were about to say something that it's me being fiery because that note like get lit on fire because the hard drive got so hot or something. But yeah, you took a different direction, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's not where I was going with that. Yeah, you also have some Leo placements, I'm pretty sure too. So you are very fiery. But
okay, side note,
Virgo part, like Germ being a Virgo and a 6th house Virgo at that, he's so down to earth. Like, I think that's what everyone like really loves about Jeremy is like when you get to know him, you're just like, he's just like, so it's not even like real, like you are really real, but you are just like so grounded. And there's also this thing about Virgo energy and Virgo suns that, especially in the 6th house where yours is, it's like you kind of like live to be of service in a lot of ways. And it's like you live your life to like in service to something. And I feel like you're always trying to upgrade yourself and make yourself a better person. And yeah, like there's that what's the purification element of Virgo too. And I feel like you're always just like trying to be healthy and trying to like just up your game and do better. And you're always challenging yourself in that way. And I feel like it's very Virgo. It's also a combination of other things in your chart.
Thanks.
But
yeah,
I don't know, the groundedness and earthiness always gets me. And then also I wouldn't say you're a neat freak, but you are so good. I think it's also like the ADD thing, but the need to have things organized and streamlined.
Yeah.
It's very much a Virgo thing, and
that is important to me.
Another level, like you just do it so well. Like,
thank you. Okay, so you're saying all these very nice qualities about me. So is there a bad quality you could share about me because I'm a Virgo? Or
I can.
Yeah, I would love to hear that too, because you're making me out to be a perfect person and I'm not.
I mean, I'm not saying you're a perfect person at all, but
yeah.
It's easy to gush about you because you are great.
Yeah.
But
Thanks.
the one thing about Virgos, by the way, I have a very major Virgo placement in my chart too. So it's, I think us living together showed me a lot of like, oh, wow, we are so similar. The things that like annoy me about myself, like will come out in you. And I feel like vice versa.
Yeah. We're almost too similar sometimes.
We also share Aries placement.
Yeah.
And some Libra placements. We share we have some good synastry, but anyway, it's Virgos can be very critical. Like very, very critical. And the reason is that Virgo is really concerned with the details. It's concerned with like the way things work, and is always kind of looking to, like I said, purify and make things better and, kind of adjust. And I feel like Virgos are often doing that to themselves too, like kind of analyzing things and analyzing the way that, again, they kind of spotting out imperfections or impurities sort of mindset. And I think unconsciously Virgos do that a lot to the people that they are around.
Yeah.
and that they love.
I can attest to
and
that.
It could be like, I didn't ask for that. But thanks.
All right. Next question, also from Paris One Power.
Question.
I know the basics about my sign, but what does a moon sign mean?
That's a good question. So
moon sign is part of, what's the term you said? SMR, sun, moon, rising?
Sun, moon, rising,
so,
yeah. And then you also have like a Mercury and a Venus and a Mars and Jupiter and all the others.
Is Mercury in retrograde right now, by the way? Just curious. Does Mercury happen to be in retrograde right now?
Right now, no.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so, yeah, the moon sign is, so like your sun sign is in a sign, right? There's 12 different signs. The sun sort of like moves, the sun and all the other planets, they have this like path that they move through, this like belt of sky. From our perspective on Earth, they kind of seem to always follow the same path. It's called the ecliptic. And yeah, that's that path. The backdrop of that path are the constellations, and that's like the 12 signs, which are named after the constellations. So when the sun is in a sign, like right now, we're recording this, it's March 16th, 2021. It's Pisces season. So the sun is in Pisces. And just like the sun is in a sign, all the planets, including the moon, are always in a given sign at any point in time. So when you were born, the moon was in one of the 12 signs of the zodiac. And it basically, you know, the moon goes through all 12 signs every month. So your moon sign is more about your internal self. I like to say it's your instinctual self. The moon's like this little chunk of the earth that like got, you know, thrown off, chunked off is not the right term. What's the word I'm looking for?
Sliced.
You got
cut.
somehow got like chunked off is the only it's the only phrase that's coming to me. But
I'm trying to think of a better word. Yeah.
It used to be the part of the earth now, and then it got thrown into orbit around the earth. And so it's this like literal like this piece of earth that's surrounding us, and it's the closest body to us. And so it has a lot to do with our bodies and our physical form. You know, it waxes and wanes like we do, you know, we start from like nothing, and then we like grow old, and then we turn to nothing again. So there's a lot of similarities between like the moon and our bodies, our physical forms. And it's also has a lot to do with like our emotional body.
Yeah.
And yeah, when you're looking at your moon sign, you're kind of thinking, okay, this is how I instinctually respond to things, whether that be like really exciting things or really shitty things, and just like literal like instincts, like physical responses even. And it's also going to describe things like your relationship to comfort and security. The moon's also going to show like how you, like what you need to feel safe and comfortable, and like what feels good for you. Sometimes that's going to look different for different people, you know. You might think that's like stereotypically like, oh yeah, like warmth and cuddles, like that feels good. But that doesn't feel good for every person and every moon sign. So it's going to look different for everyone. And yeah, the moon signs will also describe, not always, but can also describe your relationship to your mother, or whoever it was that like was the primary person in your life that raised you. Because it has a lot to do with like how we were nurtured, and therefore how we nurture ourselves and others as well. So it's a lot to do with nurturance and caretaking, and what you need to feel like you're being taken care of, and vice versa. And yeah, the moon's really, really important planet in terms of our, you know, our charts, and it will speak a lot to who you are, especially for people who were born at nighttime. And by nighttime, I mean like after sunset, right, or before sunrise. The moon, and Germ's one of those people, the moon sort of becomes the more dominant luminary or light source after sunset. So
it's interesting because I'm
relate more to your moon sign if you're born at night than you do your sun sign.
Is there any correlation that I consider myself a morning person even though I was born at night?
No correlation.
Okay, on to the next question, and it's going back to our roommate situation because, you know, anyone who doesn't know this, Kirah and I were roommates for 2 years.
Yeah.
/ we lived in the same dorm for a year. So this question comes from actually my current roommate, who I'm not sure if you ever met.
I don't think so.
From Francis.mask.
Oh, Francis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Francis.
Okay, cool. What was the best and worst part about being Jeremy's roommate?
Oh, there were so many good parts. I think, there were just so many like random moments of like hilarious fun that like we would dance, there were just so many stupid, dumb, like silly moments between you, me, and Colin.
When you say dance, I just think of me on the hoverboard just going in circles in our apartment. We had a hoverboard there for a while. The one with like the wheel on, the one where you stand on it and you can just like literally spin in a circle.
Yeah, it's like
while dancing
without the handlebars.
Yeah.
We had so much fun and so many good like party hangs, we'd have people over and just like
we were good entertainers. So what was, if you could give my best quality as a roommate and my worst quality as a roommate, what would they be?
So intense.
I'll be able to handle it, but you also get 2 skips, so if you want to skip one of these, you're welcome to.
Wait, let me think. These are just hard questions.
Because it's been it's probably been about 3 years since we lived. Has it been 3 years?
3 years.
3 years since we lived together.
It was 2015 to 2017, so it's been like 4 years.
Okay, about 4 years. Yeah. Wow.
The best part of living together was
I could think of our worst part living together, but it doesn't have to do with you. It's just how our apartment got robbed.
Oh yeah, that sucked.
That was not fun.
I was going to say the worst part was just that I feel like we were both in weird places, and like where I was at and where you were at didn't overlap that well at that time. I feel like. But at the same time, I don't know. I'm just happy we lived together for 2 years and we're still friends.
Yeah, that's true.
But the best part was definitely I think just the silliness and we could just be stupid together.
It's a good quality to be able to be silly with your friends and not have to be, but also be serious at times too. Next question is from @offbeatlook. Does your job make you feel like you have a stronger connection to humans?
Ooh. To humans.
as opposed to like animals or aliens or
I definitely have
inanimate objects.
To humans out of all of the species.
Maybe
humans and then like plants.
Interesting. Okay, why plants?
Animals and then maybe I don't have any connection to aliens. Not that I know of.
Do you believe in aliens or believe in aliens or no?
Yeah. Wait, so what was the question? Do I genuinely love what I do or something? Okay,
the question, real quick, do you, just a yes or no answer, do you believe in aliens?
Yeah.
I do too. Okay. Question is, does your job make you feel like you have a stronger connection to humans? So I guess as opposed to if you didn't do astrology, would you feel less of a connection to humans? Do you feel like you're closer to people? I feel
I feel like I'm just a people person. If it wasn't even before astrology and doing what I do, I was working retail and then I was working in advertising. I've always just been, and then I've always had not to say I've always had a lot of friends, but I do make a lot of connections with people. That's what I do. And so I think regardless of astrology, I would still be just as probably involved, but I wouldn't have, I think about my parents and growing up and listening to them on the phone with people all the time, giving them advice and listening to people talk. And I do I'm just doing what they did, but I made a living out of it, and I have a particular way of doing it and a particular framework that I'm working with, but it's basically that I feel like if it wasn't for astrology, I would still be doing that. I would still be talking to people about their lives all the time.
I guess it's nice to have astrology, utilizing it as your tool to connect with these people.
Yeah, it's a tool and a framework.
That's kind of how I feel about photography. My camera is a literal tool to connect with other people. I'd still be a social person and talk to a lot of people and stuff, but I feel like a lot of times I get a closer connection with people because I'm photographing them. So it's a very intimate experience. Which would you consider, giving someone a reading? That's a pretty intimate experience, right?
Oh, super intimate. Yeah. It's a very intimate experience. And a lot of the times it's people don't, they've never had a reading. And so a lot of times and I'm like, how are you? And people got nervous. And I feel like you probably get that a lot too. People are getting photographed.
Totally. It's so interesting how we both, so Kirah and I met because we both went to the same school to study photography. And now 10 years later, we're both, even though we went to school to study the same thing, we're both doing, I went the same route doing photography, and Kirah totally pivoted and is doing something totally different than something she went to school for, which I think is so cool and shows how our education system is kind of flawed.
Well, it's funny. I feel like I'm actually still, I feel like I'm still very like parallel to that world. Like,
Really?
I'm just like on the other side as like a creator and like a writer and whatever, but I'm still like creating content like all the time.
You are just more than ever.
Not so much. I'm not really shooting. I guess now I'm like videoing myself. I don't know.
Yeah. Recording. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question is from Cul-de-sac Studio, aka Colin Smite.
Oh my god.
And he said, what should Aries sings? I think he meant signs. What should Aries signs expect this April? Tell me good vibes.
I wish I had Colin's chart. I probably do, but I could actually give him a more specific answer. So what should Aries expect this April?
Right. This goes kind of back to the thing that, it's like there's 12 signs in the world.
It's hard to tell say because when you want to like look at predictions for yourself, you want to look at it based. This is a tip for everyone. If you're reading your horoscope, read your rising signs horoscope. It's going to be way more accurate to your life and like things that are actually happening to you. So read the horoscope for your rising sign. You can also read your sun sign, but I would suggest reading your rising sign. And so I could give a better horoscope for Aries risings, like you, Worm. By the way, I call Jeremy Worm. Like,
yeah, it's one of my nicknames.
It's from Emily Heller. Shout out.
Shout out Emily Heller, yeah.
Who was also the first person to tell me about moon signs and rising signs.
Really?
So she's
interesting.
Scorpio OG.
So the next question is actually kind of similar to this question. It's also an Aries question that's general. It's from, I feel like you might have a similar answer. It's from KO Fashion. Are Aries women doomed for a successful relationship?
Oh, absolutely not. No, never listen to anyone who says anything bad about Aries women. All the women I've ever hooked up with are Aries. And they're
really?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. There's so much more to you than just your sun sign and just being an Aries sun woman. I think what it is with Aries placements in general, because I have an Aries moon and I relate a lot to Aries issues. And I think we really need our independence, and more than that, we really need our partners to we really need to feel supported in that from our partners, like not in the sense of like, non-monogamy or anything like that. It's not that there's anything wrong with non-monogamy, but it's about like, maybe independence isn't the right word, but autonomy is the right word, and sovereignty, and needing to feel like you're your own person and you're not going to like lose yourself to a relationship. I think that's like where traditional like gender norms kind of fail a lot of Aries, like femmes and women and people who identify as women, like especially I would say people who are raised as female too. Like there's just like, we're supposed to kind of fit this mold and like be happy with certain things. And it's okay to like express dissent on that. And also it's okay to take up space, and a lot of space. And like, yeah, I feel like there's just Aries women, like, never just keep doing what you're doing. You're fucking great.
I'm sure KO Fashion, that's a super hopeful answer for KO Fashion. I'm sure she'll appreciate that. And the next question is from Sizzle Reel Gang. Give us a power ranking of all the signs. Is that even possible? Is
it? Skip.
Skip. There's your skip. Okay. I
don't like that question.
All right. The next question is from Catalina X5. How has the pandemic affected the way you see life now? How has the pandemic affected the way you see life now?
Wow. How's the pandemic affected the way I see life?
You could also skip this one too. It's
I know, but
if
I
you
don't get
want.
to skip.
It's yeah. So
I think it's, I don't know if it has. I don't know if it has. I think if anything, it's emphasized like the need. I think it's just the pandemic has made a lot of issues very, very, very clear and unable to be ignored anymore. And I think
well said.
it's just hard to watch people continue to try to ignore them, even after the this pandemic, and even after everything's exposed. It's like still trying to like patch it, like put band-aids on like boiling lava or some shit.
Right, that classic meme. What's that meme, like slapping tape on this like overflowing thing?
Yeah, it's like the world splitting open, but you're like trying to duct tape it back together.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I like the way you explain that.
Yeah, it's just, so I think it hasn't really changed the way I've seen anything, but it's been it's just been kind of difficult to watch. And yeah.
Cool. Here, the next question is extremely random. It's from traveling_and_sunsets.
Hell yeah.
I love those things. What do you think of the name McLovin as a name in Superbad? In parentheses, movie. Kind of love that question.
The movie part is what got me. What do I think of the name?
It's the movie for me. Yeah.
I don't like it. It's not the best name. I wish, but it's perfectly cringy for that character in that movie. So I guess in that case, I love it.
From Wiley point of view, there are 14 constellations in our observable sky. How do you come to terms with that? ...
There's more than 14 constellations.
Oh, there's more.
There's plenty. I mean, there's more. I love.
Sounds like why
phrase. How do you come to terms with that? It's like
sounds like Wiley needs a wider point of view.
I think so too. And there's tons of constellations in the sky that aren't in the ecliptic and the zodiac belt. The zodiac belt is composed of 12 constellations. You could say there's 13, sure, but it doesn't change anything, honestly, because we're not using the positions of the literal stars as our guides for, making these mathematical calculations that we're doing. We're using the ecliptic, excuse me, we're using the tropics to divide up the sky. So yeah, it doesn't really, I don't really get that. That question.
Okay. Well, thanks for the question regardless, Wiley. Next question's from Kylia Rosen. Thoughts on astrology apps like Costar? How trustworthy / accurate are they?
Channy app is the app that you want. It's the app of
can you repeat it? It's called
dreams.
Channy app?
The thing about astrology apps is that it's never gonna replace going to an actual astrologer and getting a chart reading. Like, it's never ever going to replace that. They're not one and the same. But they will give you, good insight into like yourself, your life, and what's happening in your life through like transit reports and stuff like that. I don't recommend Costar, and mainly because their calculations are often inaccurate. So there's been plenty of times where I've told people like, oh no, your moon sign is actually different. Costar told you the wrong sign. Right. I highly recommend the Channy app because I helped work on it, and I know I know a couple of people who are on that team, and Channy is just really great. And particularly because one, like, again, I know that real actual astrologers that are like really good people and, really smart have worked on it and are working on it. I know Channy pays them really well. And I know that app is really, 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 really good.
All right, cool. Well, I'm definitely gonna put I'm definitely gonna put a link for Chani in the description,
Yeah, the
so it's
Chani app
easy
is bomb.
to check out.
And what else? Oh, then other apps. There's Time Passages. There's there's Time Passages. That's really. I mean, I'm always going to recommend the Chani app.
Okay, so Chani app is the move. Cool.
It's really great, and it uses like Chani's training, like the way her kind of lineage is based in traditional astrology, and so that's always what I'm going to recommend. I'll just leave it at that.
Question from Elena.inks. Have you ever kissed Jeremy?
One time we tried to kiss and we couldn't do it.
We did try to kiss one time. Why did that happen? Wait, why did that happen again?
I think we were just like probably like just being stupid and like we should just try to do it and see if like, and we like literally like got like
I remember getting like an inch away and then just like laughing really hard.
Dying laughing.
That's really funny.
It wouldn't work.
Question from Maxo_. Wait, let me rephrase this for him. Hi, Kirah. Is the astrology approach different from country to country, in parentheses, climate?
That's a great question. Yeah, I would say there's like Western horoscopic astrology, which is what I practice. There's definitely excuse me. There's definitely going to be a lot more variation once you are looking at like the East and Eastern astrologies, like the astrology they practice in India and the astrology they practice in China is definitely a lot different. So, and then even in South America. But what I will say is that I would say not most, but the astrology that you'll see in the West, especially, all has kind of it's all has the same roots, which is kind of comes from the same region or around the Hellenistic era, basically, and like Egypt, Greece, ancient Egypt, Greece, that time.
Cool.
Yeah. So that kind of spread throughout Europe and into the Americas. And then there's also like Indian, like Vedic, more other traditions in the East. So yeah, the answer is yes.
Well, good question from Maxo_. Liz with 3 Z's EA96. Where did you learn about astrology? So from my perspective, I remember coming in your room and you would just be reading like these thick astrology books. And you would read it front to back, as far as I know. Like, did you get most of your astrology knowledge from books, from YouTube videos? Where did you learn all this stuff?
Definitely mostly from both books and podcasts. And in particular, Chris Brennan's astrology podcast is just, I will never stop like gushing about that podcast as a resource. It's really amazing. Chris does such an amazing like service to the astrology community through that podcast. And you can really learn astrology through that podcast, like really good quality astrology.
Awesome. Have you gotten
that's been a primary learning source for me. Go to the astrologypodcast.com.
Cool. Have you gotten to meet this guy, or is he like a celebrity figure to you?
Both. Like he's a younger quote unquote astrologer in the sense that he's like 36. Mm-hmm. And I've been like a patron of his podcast for like over 6 years at this point. Because I've been learning from him for that long. But yeah, he was always like a celeb to me because he was like a young astrologer, just like killing it. And I mean, I was on his podcast this past summer, and that was like a huge deal for me.
Incredible.
Excuse me. I've met him in person at a conference like 2019. And yeah, we've like been in touch ever since. And it was just like so cool to be on his podcast, and he came on mine. And we actually had a whole episode about like the lineage and history of astrology. So if you're interested in that, check out my podcast. But
That's amazing.
it's
and what's your podcast?
About, like, millennials.
We'll mention your podcast at the end, but real quick, can you just drop the name of your podcast for anyone listening right now?
Astrology Show.
And find it anywhere, like Apple, Spotify,
all podcast places. Yeah.
Awesome.
Apple, Spotify, all the Google. I think, I don't know. All the
From Rathesh 52. Is being a Scorpion a bad thing?
I think he's a Scorpio. No, it's not a bad thing. There's no bad things about being a sign. Like, we're all one of them. None of them are inherently bad. Scorpios, we're just deep. We're just intense. We're just complicated. We're a little emo, a little complex. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, speaking of that, I feel like I mean, I don't know a lot about astrology, but I feel like the sign that gets most clowned on is Gemini. Mm-hmm. I feel like why is that? Like, I feel like it's like the New Jersey of signs, but like, but why? I don't know this. This is just like rumors of what I've heard. And I'm sitting right next to a Gemini right now, and he's waving his hand at me, and I'm trying not to make eye contact.
He's a great Gemini. I am a Gemini stan. Like, I'm always going to be a hardcore defender of all Geminis. Yeah, I mean, why? I mean, it's a sign ruled by Mercury. Mercury is fickle. Mercury tests things. Mercury doesn't conform to one side or another. And Mercury is a sign of the twins and of the magician and of the jester. You know, it's the trickster. And so
the trickster.
You just have to like understand Geminis. And then once you understand, then you're like, oh yeah, of course. I love you. Like, what would we do without Geminis? That's really what I want to know. Everyone who shits on Geminis, like, what would we do without Geminis? They bring lightness. They bring so much information. Like, Geminis know so much shit. They just know shit. All these little factoids, and they're fun and funny and contrarian, and just like add so much to our lives. Like, stop shitting on Gemini.
Alexi right next to me is just smiling to everyone right now. Yeah, that's really cool. But that's people say bad things about Geminis. That's so dumb.
I know, it's really, I mean, it's dumb to say bad things about any particular sign. Because like literally we have all 12 of them in our life, like as part of us. All 12 are in each of our charts. So you have Gemini somewhere in your chart.
See, this is why I love having you explain this, because you're the pro. Question from Idamia by Idamia.
Cool.
How do I get around the ego of an Aries man?
What's up with that?
I don't know. There's a lot of Aries slander. I'm guessing this is just because Aries season is coming up. It's Pisces season right now, right? So we're getting a lot of Aries questions. You still have a skip, by the way, if you don't want to. I'm curious why he or she asked that question.
What was the question again?
How do I get around the ego of an Aries man?
How do I get around the ego?
Do Aries men, are they known to have egos?
It's
we can skip this question. You have a skip. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You don't got another skip though.
I know. I'm scared.
Okay, the next question is from Akank Shah Soamaiji. How did you know you were into astrology?
I was into astrology since I was a kid. I just always knew I was a Scorpio. I always resonated with it. It always resonated with me. Like, it was never like I had to be convinced of this sort of thing for me. I've always loved it. Ever since I was a kid. Yeah, I was always into birthdays. I knew everyone's birthday growing up. But I mean, when I really, really knew was when I saw my birth chart for the first time. And I was just down the rabbit hole. Literally didn't sleep that night. I didn't fall asleep.
Were you hopping?
Yeah,
because you're going down the rabbit hole like a bunny, right?
I mean, I think I was just falling, honestly, just diving, honestly, down the rabbit hole. But yeah.
This one time when I was growing up, just reminded me, we were in the backyard, in my Pennsylvania backyard, and there was just this literal rabbit hole. There was a hole in the ground, and a couple bunnies popped out of it. It was a literal rabbit hole.
That's so cute.
And then I wanted to keep them, and then my parents didn't let me.
Of course.
The next question is a little off topic, but also on topic at the same time. From Gersuakagil _TJ1116. Is COVID-19 real?
Yes.
That's all we need. It's just a one-word answer.
Yes.
And then the last question is also from Paris Mumpower. What sign is Jeremy most likely to hate and or fall in love with?
Oh, fall in love with is easy. Libra.
Libra is the person I'll fall in love with. A Libra?
I think that's like what most likely. I think Libra or Leo for you. I think you could fall really hard for a fire sign, basically. A Libra or a Leo. But especially, yeah, either one of those. I think.
So why is that?
Why you said?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Because your chart ruler is Mars in Libra in your seventh house, which is relationships. So your seventh house is where you find relationships and partnerships in the chart, and your chart ruler is there, and it's a nice mirror to you and has a lot of same there's a lot of similarities there with you and Libras. And then also Leo, because it falls into your fifth house. And I think you have your Venus there. But your fifth house is where you find like fun and creativity and sex and romance and all the pleasures in life. And I think a Leo could really like bring that out of you. And that doesn't mean just a Leo sun, like Leo placements, Libra placements will also, align with you that way.
Cool. Well, Kirah, that about wraps up the questions. This has been amazing to catch up. Even though we've known each other for so long, I feel like we've never had this long of a discussion about astrology.
Probably
and
not.
Honestly, it brings a smile to my face to hear you talk about something that you're so passionate about and so knowledgeable in. It just like brings me joy. So I really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks for coming on the pod and sharing all your knowledge.
Thanks for having me. Warren.
Yeah. So
love hanging with you.
Yeah, I hope we could. I feel like it's been so long since I've seen you, so I miss you a lot. I hope we could hang IRL soon.
For sure.
Can you let's drop your links. Where can people find you? What do you want what's something you're working on right now that you could share?
Sure. Yeah. You can find me at theastrology.com, at the astrology on Instagram and Clubhouse, at theastrology _ on Twitter. Oh, gosh, looking at my website reminds me I need to redo it.
Why? I like it.
Thanks.
I think it's clean.
I just launched a couple things. The 11th house. It's a community, like membership community that I started, and it's super fun. And we do like meetups, and basically I say it's like for astro nerds, to like gather and connect. And we're, Discord, lots of fun things. And so, yeah, the 11th house doors just closed, but they open up every 3 months. So if you're interested, I'm going to have a wait list link up soon, or you can just, subscribe to my mailing list. And then I'm just started teaching a course too. So that I'm going to be busy with that for a while. And then I also have a podcast, the Astrology Show.
Astrology Show. Ooh,
yeah.
I remember that photo.
Yeah, Jerem took that photo. I'm actually about to redo the cover art, but I do love that photo so much.
Yeah, that was a good time. That was from when we went to Florida together.
It was Florida.
That photo is in a hot tub.
Right before election day, the day before election day.
Oh my God. It was, holy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, we got back. Oh my God. I remember
back on election day.
I remember coming back vividly, and what the feeling in New York was like on post-election day.
The day after, yeah. Because we flew back from Florida to New York. I then took a bus to Pennsylvania to vote, and then the morning after took a bus back, and it was just like raining and dreary.
It was so dreary.
Everyone was like so depressed.
Yep.
But anyway, he's out, so we don't have to be sad about that anymore.
Hey.
But yeah, the Astrology Show, it's my podcast. It's really good if you're like interested in doing a deep dive in like the basics, because I have an episode about each planet. And right now I'm doing a series about all the houses too. So if you're interested in learning more, my show is a really good place for it. And yeah, and then I also, just to plug real quick, Fresh Voices is a platform that I run. It's called Fresh Voices in Astrology. And basically it's for emerging astrologers to sort of like be able to present stuff that they're interested in. And we host webinars every 2 weeks, and that's really fun. And we have a free summit every year. So we have that too. And yeah.
Kirah, you're absolutely crushing it. You got so many things going on. Just remember,
I don't know.
remember to also chill and relax too, because you're so hardworking. And
I try.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.